Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. We're very excited about this first eXp University platform training between eXp and Enriched Real Estate. Today, we're going to provide an overview of the eXp Enriched Real Estate relationship. Here on stage, myself, Benjamin Greenberg, Managing Director in Enriched Data, and Brian Lin, Chief Product Officer of Enriched Data. We're going to, as I mentioned, we're going to provide an overview of eXp Enriched Data, which is the tools that we've built together and provided to eXp to empower yourselves to create greater efficiencies and have direct access to 155 million property records across the United States. So we are going to pay attention to the public chat. We welcome you to ask questions. We will do our best to keep our eyes on it. And we also have Renee Jordan here in the room with us, who will be providing answers as we go along, and she will be nudging us with comments as well. So please join us by chat if you will. And if you do have, if you would like to raise your hand and have a question heard, we would like you to have that opportunity. So eXp, it's your portal to all things connected with big data in real estate. What does that mean? You guys have access to the platform that we make data collection seamless and the results more powerful, so you can concentrate on what you do best. And what do you guys do best? You guys make money for yourselves and for eXp, right? That's what we want you guys to focus on, is how to get in and out of those transactions as quickly as possible. Enriched Data was founded on the principles of creating a real estate property technology solution, allowing independent asset valuation. So the eXp Enriched Data is the only real property database with a proprietary cloud-based valuation application. What this means is this is the first tool that has been developed by MAI professionals that identified what it takes to create a full-blown valuation report. All the same elements that you as brokers and agents utilize in order to write a BPO for your clients. So our platform, what we identified is that in a valuation, 1,300 lines of data are utilized. In a BPO, 600 lines of data are utilized. So what we've done to surpass the other data companies out there is, one, we sought to have a complete national coverage, and two, have greater detail per property. Where other companies out there average around 300 lines of data per property, we're averaging 1,800 lines of data per property. And by doing that, we're able to provide you the ability to perform property valuations and opinions, find buyers and or sellers, make comparable asset evaluations, and complete a range of deliverable products that will evolve over time with eXp. So the business of data collection is what other brokerages consider a cost center for eXp Enriched Data, because where eXp Enriched Data has identified how to make this a profit center. So what does that mean? The day that we signed the partnership agreement between eXp and Enriched Data, eXp gained a full duplicate copy of the 155 million property records, something that would have cost eXp a minimum of $30 million, something that gives eXp a book value in the hundreds of millions of dollars just based on supplier of a data company. And together, we're going to grow this database to be not only what it is considered now the largest real estate database in the US, but something that's going to surpass the others because of their lack of ability to create partnerships between brokerages and data companies. What happened during this pandemic? The first people that were let go in other brokerage firms were the data and IT technology teams. eXp you guys expanded. You guys expanded your IT and technology capabilities, and we found each other, and we're off to the to a great beginning, and looking forward to a great future with you. So, according to Reese, who we have a partnership with, CARS is the most technologically advanced valuation platform we have ever seen. And even if we spent tens of millions of dollars and years to build, we don't think it could get the quality level of the enriched data application as today. We are so thankful for that partnership. We're so thankful for that quote. And we are so thankful that we have a partner in eXp to provide access to this data. So data quality and accuracy, it increases daily as more users input new live data and then gets standardized, cleansed, scored, and automized for the benefit of the entire platform. How we are going to do that together with eXp is we're working currently to create those APIs between SkySlope and Enriched Data to not only provide you access to 155 million property records that we're working on continuously to cleanse and to make more accessible to you, but what we're also doing is making it available that you have the live listings and the current transactions that are ahead of all the data companies in the platform to make it the most your work and your data the most utilized in the industry. So again, we have a national coverage of geocoded property data, 32 million commercial properties, 122 million residential properties. With others like CoStar, they're only following the transactions. CoStar only has around 7 million properties within their platform. We have all 32 million properties. And so what that allows us is to give eXp agents and brokers in secondary and tertiary markets access to information that they were not able to receive from other data companies.
To elaborate on that a little bit more, we're aggregators of data. We aggregate data from over 30 sources, and we enrich that data using our technologies, machine learning, data cleansing processes that are proprietary to our business. From that, we're able to decipher using models such as truth tables to determine, okay, well, the county has this property listed as 10,500 square feet. The broker uploaded a rent roll that shows it's only 10,000 square feet. And the appraiser that performed the valuation measured the property to be 10,200 square feet. Well, which one of those data points is the truth? So we've built truth tables to allow us to filter through inconsistent data sets and be able to determine which data point is going to be most accurate and most helpful in real estate valuation and to you guys.
Ryan, why don't you continue on and tell us more about this database that everyone has access to?
Yeah, so we've actually been aggregating data for over 10 years. We'll have a 10-year property history. So again, as Ben mentioned earlier, when you use sources such as CoStar, they track transactions, they track leasing, they track sales. What they don't track is property history of properties that haven't transacted or haven't leased. It may be owner-occupied properties, a lot of which eXp Commercial will be transacting in. Every time you have a property or a prospect, you're able to go to the Enriched Real Estate website, determine the prior sales and mortgage history of that property. You can see historical assessments for up to 10 years. And you'll be able to see all of the physical characteristics of the property, flood maps, aerial maps, street view, and gather a lot of that data without having to go to 5 or 6 different sources. Without having to reference that, you'll be able to have a one-stop shop. Data points per property. So we have 1,300 data points attached to each property record. And now we're also working with eXp as well as MIT to add on ESG scoring, and that's environmental social governance, which is going to be, the next big thing as companies turn to green, or at least try to appear that they are green sensitive. And by having those data points, when you set out to create a broker opinion of value, the old-fashioned way, let's say you do it in Word and Excel, you're having to input all of those data points for not only the subject, but every comparable that's utilized in that BPO. Well, now with Enriched Data, you're able to take the information that we've aggregated in our large commercial database and load up that broker price opinion and essentially start at the 60-yard line, as opposed to starting from scratch. You get to focus and spend more time on the actual analysis as opposed to data entry, because our time is too valuable to spend on something as simple as data entry when we're creating these BPOs for our clients. So the way we have our database organized, we have 14 land use codes, and these are the land use codes that are used by the Appraisal Institute. They're defined by the Appraisal Institute as the 14 major commercial land use codes, and we've actually standardized the data for over 3,600 counties in U.S. And as you know, every county has their data stored in a different manner, organized in a different fashion, and it's even named and titled differently. And what we've done is taken all of those sources in which we aggregate data and standardize it. Every property is classified into one of 14 land use codes. And furthermore, so let's say you're doing not only let's say a warehouse property as a land use code, but more specifically, it is a auto repair facility. That's where the sub land use codes come in. So you're able to really target the exact type of property or exact type of comparable that you would like to use for your analysis. And you're able to search and filter based on both the land use codes and the sub land use codes. So as I mentioned, 32 data feeds, and then that includes both public data providers, information that's directly from the county. Some of that data, we get data feeds on a daily or even weekly basis. So every day our database is changing. 3,100 counties, geospatial firms, title companies, and crowdsourced data. And I want to just elaborate a little bit more on the crowdsourced data. The primary difference in using our database as opposed to, let's say, CoStar or another real estate data provider is that they typically pay entry-level researchers to research real estate data. They're not real estate professionals. They don't understand real estate transactions, and that's why you find a lot of errors. I've been a CoStar user for 15 years, and when I use a CoStar comparable, or when I use CoStar data, I always find myself having to double check all of the data points that I'm getting from them. Well, by crowdsourcing data, when your peers or when other users or other appraisers, we've got thousands of users using our application, whenever they find something that is wrong with a sale comp or with a subject property, and they correct it, well, all of that data, or they expand on missing data points, any data fields that are null. Let's say they go and research it and key it in. Well, all of that crowdsourced data then goes back to our data team, which uses technology to determine the reasonableness of that particular data point, and then appends our database with that new crowdsourced data to provide you guys the most accurate real estate database that's out there. And as I mentioned, we do these updates, over 10 million weekly updates, data points that are updated. And this could include anything from a new transaction, or perhaps a property was recently combined with an adjacent property. And then now they have one single tax ID as opposed to two. Over 10 million weekly updates to our database. Data verticals. For our database, these are the data points or general categories in which we have available to you. The property database, which of course includes all of the public data that you typically collect from county assessor, from Google. We have that all summarized for you in our property database. We have the ownership history of the property, and we rely on title policies. We rely on crowdsourced data, someone that participated in the transaction, and we have mortgage data. So again, the mortgage data actually could be quite valuable to you guys, because when your mortgage expires, or when a property owner's mortgage expires, they have one of three options. They're going to refinance, they're going to pay it off, or they're going to sell the property. Well, there's also a fourth option. They could default on it, but that's not usually the most financially feasible. But when you know that a mortgage is coming up for a property, perhaps that would be an excellent lead or a good time to approach a commercial property owner and say, hey, well, I see that your mortgage is coming due. What do you plan to do with your property? Are you interested in selling it? And we can actually provide mortgage expiration leads specific to your market. And we have contact information that extends beyond the company information, meaning the LLC. So we break the corporate veil, and we get you contact information with an actual person, usually a member of that LLC, a property manager or property owner's name and phone number and email in some instances, so that your cold calls are a lot more successful. Sale comparables. So of course, when you want to know the value of a property, that's the first thing you usually look at are the sales comparables. We've written algorithms. Not everyone in this room is a valuation professional or an appraiser. So what I've done, or what we've done, is taken all of our knowledge in our 50 plus years of collaborative commercial real estate valuation experience, and we've written algorithms to help our users pick the best sale comps. So it's called a do loop. And what the do loop does is, based on physical characteristics of your subject, it goes out into the market, it sorts through hundreds of sales, and it'll return 10, 15, 20 sales in which it deems to be most similar to your subject based on those physical characteristics. And then of course, valuation assessment. We're the first company to essentially go out and do a guesstimate on every commercial property in America. We're the first Zillow, let's say, for commercial properties. And you can go to the Enriched Real Estate website, type in any property address, and be able to see the guesstimate value for that property. And that's based on AVMs, which are automated valuation models, using several AVMs and weighing each AVM accordingly, then we come up with our guesstimate value. Software features, cleansing, standardizing, and automizing data. Using our application, as I mentioned before, we've standardized the data and we've uploaded it to our application so that it's readily available for you, and we automate essentially real estate valuation process. Ben, would you like to talk about the competitive position?
Absolutely. Sorry, I had to unmute. So looking at this competitive position as to how this platform in partnership with eXp and Enriched Data plays against the competitors, independent asset valuations, it's the heart of the real estate property technology industry. And it's the missing piece today. There's just outdated processes that drive today's CRE values. Our industry is probably one of the largest industries in the world. They say that real estate is 80% of global wealth, but we're one of the slowest adopting industries towards technology. Enriched Data has a unique model that turns the business data collection, which has historically been a cost center, into a profit center. And our customers enrich our database daily with data making it the most current and comprehensive database in the US, and the only database with digitized valuation type processes to give you the ability to create BPOs in minutes. Data collected from users is standardized, it's cleansed, it's scored, it's automized, and then enriched for the benefit of the entire platform for eXp as a whole. So the two platforms that you have access to today are eXpERE and eXpCARS. eXpERE is the platform where you're able to visualize 32 million real-time commercial property records and guesstimate values. Those guesstimate values on about 20 million other properties. We're the first in the industry to provide a guesstimate value. And eXpCARS is the fastest commercial valuation application in the industry, which gives you the ability to write BPOs in 15 minutes or less. So the players in our industry, the different participants that touch real estate data are the property managers, the lenders, the owners, the tax consultants, the brokers, the developers, the property manager, the data providers, the appraisers, the buyers and the investors, and the CMBS and the analysts. Together with this platform, we're able to create different business verticals within eXp. The ability to write BPOs and CMAs with the greatest efficiencies, the ability to create a valuation consulting practice, market research, capital markets, tax consulting, investment sales, property management, leasing, and brokerage, all tied to a single platform and breaking down those walls of silos that we commonly see in the other brokerage firms. So I'm going to hand it back over to Ryan, who's going to start by giving a demonstration of the eXpERE site. If everyone will pay attention, please, to which screen? To the left screen. We will start the demonstration there. So will you actually start with the ERE site?
Yeah, so just real quick before we move on to the Enriched Real Estate demo, I just want to elaborate on the last slide that we went over so that you guys get a full understanding of what the eXp Enriched Data partnership is going to do for you. The CARS application is not just to do broker price opinions. It's actually utilized by lenders, it's utilized by brokers, it's utilized by property owners, and it's utilized by tax consultants as well as appraisers. So starting with the real estate transaction cycle, there's a lot of redundancy in the real estate transaction cycle. Think about your clients in commercial real estate. When they want to list their property for sale, what's the first thing that they do? They need to get their financials together, their operating statements, and they need to get their rent roll together. They typically provide that to the broker in the form of PDF, in which then the broker takes that PDF, loads that rent roll into some Excel or some other type of spreadsheet to kind of decipher what the gross income potential would be, figure out what a typical market vacancy would be for this property, and also what the typical operating expenses for the property in comparison to the actual operating history of the property. So now the broker does his analysis in his Excel. Of course, anybody that's any potential investors in that property, they're going to be doing their own underwriting. And typically what's provided to them is the same rent roll and profit and loss statement that the broker received. And now they have to start over and do their own analysis, the same one that the broker did in his Excel. And when they're ready to move forward with the transaction and it goes to the lender is doing their own preliminary underwriting using, again, the rent roll and the P&L. And then when they order an appraisal, they're not sending their underwriting notes. They're sending to us, me being an appraiser, the rent roll and the P&L. And then, of course, once it goes back with the appraisal reviewer is going to be reviewing that appraisal. And once they're through with it, the loan officer is going to generate a loan committee package, again, which regurgitates 50% of the appraisal. And then, so as you can see, everyone is doing their own independent analysis and wasting a lot of time. So now, as opposed to sharing everything in PDF, you're using the CARS application, and everyone's going to contribute a little bit more every step of the way. So starting with your property owner, as opposed to sending you the P&L or the financials in PDF, soon they'll be able to load up the CARS application, share it with you so that you can form your BPO for them. And you'll be able to share this CARS application, this CARS file with any potential investors. And then they can tweak it how they choose and come up with their own underwriting. So wouldn't it be great if you already had sale comps loaded up and you're able, when the appraiser's requesting information from you as a commercial broker, instead of sending him the PDF, you show him the loaded up CARS file with the comps that you've already picked. Appraisers are lazy. And if those comps are pretty decent comparables and they make sense, they're going to be using some of those comps, and it's just going to be a lot easier road to closing than the old-fashioned way, where you just send the broker the financials and the rent roll and have them guess which are the best sale comps in your market that you're the expert in. You've got rent comps, sale comps loaded on the CARS application for them. So, and every step along the way, we're contributing to the ERE eXp database, and we're building a stronger database for all of our collaborative use. Okay, so now if you'll focus on the left screen, you'll be able to see an example of a property card for an office building here in Houston. So I want to point out some of the features that we have on this property card. If you look on the top right, that is our guesstimate value for this property. Over here, we have several tabs, and every tab is going to, they're just as they're titled. We've got property details, owner details, sales and mortgage history, assessment history, comparable sales, who's lending in your area, and a tenant database and flood map. From here, you can see that we have not only a photo of the property, we have a satellite view and a street map view. We know that the property is a low-rise office building with an assessment of 10 million, gross building area of 113,988, and a land area of 73,647. We also know that the most recent sale of this property was in 2020 for 17 million. So here's a summary of those data points. You have the tax ID number. You don't have to dig for that if your client doesn't provide it. They just give you an address, or any prospective clients, you'll have that tax ID number for your reference. Owner details. Okay, owner details. So you can see here.
Ryan, we lost your audio for a moment. Can you just back up about 30 seconds?
Yeah, are you guys able to hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, ownership details. So here, you'll be able to see the company name, address, and information on the owner, as well as a phone number. Sales and mortgage history. You'll be able to see both in chart view and table view the historical sales and mortgages on this property. You can see the last time the property transacted was in 2005, arm's length transaction, and it sold for 3.45 million. You can see the last mortgage that was taken out on this property, 2017, and it took out a mortgage for 3.5 million. Assessment history. So we can see all the way up to the 2021 assessment for this property. We know the owner's name, address, we've got a legal description, and you'll be able to see how the assessments have trended over the years. Comparable sales. So this is the do loop algorithm that I mentioned earlier, using our years of appraisal and valuation expertise. Instead of just showing you office sales in Houston for 200 different sales, we've narrowed it down to the ones in which the algorithm deems to be most similar to the subject, and we've provided these sales to you so that it can help with your valuation. We also have who's lending in your area. Perhaps your client needs some referrals on who's doing deals in a particular area for this type of asset. Well, now you could type in their subject property address and then look at the lenders who have recently done deals for a property of this type, size, and value. Got a tenant database in which for some properties we'll be able to tell you the types of tenants and the number of employees that occupy that office building. And go ahead.
Ryan, can you show what happens on a property that's owned by somebody who has a portfolio of assets?
Yes, absolutely. So of course our database, it covers nationwide. This is an office building in Manhattan. And what you can see here, I think this one, yeah, we have a tenant database for this large high-rise office building. We know the number of tenants that they have and the size of each of those tenants. This one being a fairly large tenant, mental health counselor with 20 to 49 employees. And here we have it. In the owner details, you'll have the owner's name as opposed to just the company name, and phone numbers. We have 2 phone numbers in this case, as well as a verified email. We verify all of our contact email addresses and bounce emails off of those addresses to make sure that you're not wasting your time in contacting these property owners. But what you see down here are other properties that are likely owned by the same owner. And I think that's important because you seem really smart when you reach out to them. Mr. Rothschild, I see that you've got this office building that you own on Broadway. The mortgage is expiring soon. Do you plan to sell? I see that you also own all of these other properties. And he's going to be like, wow, how did you know that? It's just a conversation starter and make you look like the expert. And then it's going to be able to land you a lot of deals. And the way you search was exactly as I showed you here. We have an elastic search capability in which once you start typing the address of a property, it's actually going to pre-populate the property in which it matches up against on our database. And it doesn't matter what kind of property that is, you'll be able to see all of the information on the owner, got his email in this case, sales and mortgage history, and we've got all of this information for every property and every market.
So why don't we switch over to cars and give them some background on what they receive there?
Yeah, so Enriched Real Estate is going to be your first stop. As soon as you need to know some information on the property, you're going to go to Enriched Real Estate and be able to find out a lot of information on that property. Later on, when let's say you land a deal and you need to do a broker price opinion, or maybe preliminarily you'd like to tell the owner what you think the property is worth, you're going to jump into cars, and I just click the add subject property button on the top right. And we're going to type in the subject information.
So real quickly while you're there, we have a question from Debbie Rogers. I don't want you to go into detail as to how we do it right now, but can you show them how they would add multiple parcels or multiple uses over on the screen?
Sure. Yeah, if you have multiple parcels, all you got to do is select multi-parcel on the top right. And what that's going to allow you to do, so let's say this is the first address of your multi-parcel property. You'll click that. Let's say you also want to value the property next door as part of the portfolio, 2190 North Loop West. And you'll locate that property and be able to add that as a second parcel. And you can add, I believe, up to 10 different parcels and create a BPO for all of these properties collectively. So I'm going to exit out of this. We'll start over. And we'll put in the subject property address. And you can see here, this is the CARS valuation platform. First, you're going to set up the valuation. I'm not going to fill in these data points at this time. They're pretty straightforward, but once you do, it'll actually save for you. So the next time around, your company's logo information will pre-populate for you. And same thing for your client information. If you happen to be doing jobs for the same client, it'll pre-populate based on your client database, which we build for you. I am going to put in a data report because the algorithms are based on these data points. Okay, save that. The save button is at the top, but it actually auto saves every 3 minutes, so you never lose information. So starting with the site analysis, you can see here we've got Google Maps integrated into our application. You can see it both in map view and satellite view. Know exactly what you're dealing with here, and also you can pan down and see a street view of this office building. We've got the physical address, city, state, and all our properties are geocoded Latin long, so you never have to do any mapping again. We've got the county, legal description, tax ID number, gross land area, shape of the site. And then if you wanted to upload any flood maps, or if you had a survey or a plat map of the property, you can upload those. We also have tools built in which if you wanted to outline the shape of the site, you can just use our tools directly on our site, as opposed to having to copy and paste into Microsoft Paint, take a screenshot and upload it. I'm going to capture this as my aerial map, and that's later going to populate my BPO. So a lot of the information that's on the Enriched Real Estate website is also here in CARS, and then some. You can see this is the property type we talked about earlier. We also have the subtype, which is low rise, 1 to 4 stories. Got the year built and gross building area, net rentable area, building class, all of the things that you need for your broker price opinion should essentially be preloaded for you, with the exception of exterior walls, which you can select from a drop-down menu. So let's say glass exterior walls and drywall, finished drywall or painted drywall interior walls. And then I'm just going to select flooring as ceramic tile. Roofs built up. Okay, so we can complete the improvement analysis fairly quickly, because a lot of it again is preloaded for you. I'm going to jump over to the tax summary. Here you can do a very thorough analysis of the property tax. You can see the historical assessments for this property. Got an assessment table. And then this is one thing that's really interesting, and it's going to be of value to both you and your client. So as you can see here, this is called a fairness assessment. Some call it a uniform and equal analysis, and some call it an equity analysis. Basically what this tells you is that based on the tax comparables, which are other properties that are the same property type with similar property characteristics in the market, they're being assessed with a median assessment of $37 a square foot. Well, the subject property is assessed at $54 a square foot. So based on the concept of uniform and equal, defined by the state property tax code, the subject property should be assessed at less than $54. And that's why this here says the property could be overassessed by 31%, meaning that there's a huge upside potential for you and your client. If your client is purchasing the property and the property is overassessed and it's not a triple net property, meaning the owner is responsible for all of the expenses, or at least property tax, then any potential tax savings goes straight to the bottom line or the net operating income. And in this case, if the owner is saving $26,000 a year, and that goes to the bottom line at an 8% cap rate, that's a $325,000 value add to the property if they can get that tax reduction on the basis of uniform and equal. So that's a big selling point. If you have a buyer that's kind of hesitant or thinks the price is a little bit high, maybe you want to take a look at the property taxes and see whether or not it's overassessed. Because once you protest or appeal those taxes, then you kind of you realize those tax savings on the bottom line. Sale comps. So again, this is based on our do loop algorithm, in which it's going to select the sales in which it deems to be most comparable based on the characteristics of the subject. And while that's loading, I'm also going to show you REIS. So we have access to the REIS database as well as the Enriched Data property database. And you're able to sort through the sales. If you hover over each sale, you'll be able to see a summary of the sale. So we've got a sale that's nearby, that's 2021. Several sales nearby that are 2021. And from here, you can actually modify the search criteria for your property. And I'm just going to click a couple sales here.
And we do promise you that it is a much faster platform when we're not sharing here in the world.
Yes, absolutely. And you'll be able to add those comparables as sales. And then these are the sales from the Enriched Data database that you see here. An easy way to sort is by proximity. Usually you want to find sale comps that are nearby as opposed to far away. Maybe you need a sale that's brackets the subject, or you need to find something that's older or newer than the subject. You can sort by any of these factors here. Or if you want to find something that's a higher price per square foot, you'll be able to find that information here. So I'm just going to click a couple sales that are nearby, and we'll go off to the BPO. Oh, if you need to make any adjustments to these sales, you can make these adjustments directly on our platform. You'll be able to see everything line by line, the number of stories of each of these properties. And you can even make market conditions adjustments. So let's say for COVID or for any other changes in market conditions, and then make adjustments based on all of these characteristics here. The adjustment factors that you see here on the screen are for office properties. If it's a warehouse property or if it's an apartment, these adjustment factors will change. And you also have the option to do an optional adjustment. So let's say you wanted to do an adjustment for waterfront. Just key in waterfront here and do another custom adjustment to your property. So from here, we'll move on to the reconciliation of the sales comparison approach. Let's go with a median $85 a square foot. We're at 5.3 million. And if that's all we wanted to do was a sales comparison approach, we're already done with our broker price opinion. And I'll show you what 5 minutes worth of time will get you in terms of a BPO. So you can see here, we've got just a cover sheet, executive summary with the details of the subject. We didn't do an income approach, but you can very quickly and easily do an income approach in CARS. Subject property information with the subject photo, satellite view, and map, with the site data, improvement data, and our sale comps. So these sale comps are fully written up for you. And what it does is make it seem like you spend a lot of time working on this BPO, where in reality, you only spent 5 minutes on this prospective client because you don't know if you're going to get the deal. And you send them a report that's very, very thorough with a good opinion of value and a high level of analysis, but you just don't spend as much time on the report writing process. And
so Ryan, can you share with them what happens when we input the rent rolls, the revenues and expenses, and how that's so powerful when we're sharing these CARS file between eXp agents and brokers to gain a transaction in quicker time?
Absolutely. So just to quickly go over the income approach, you'll be able to find other office comparables in your market at the click of a button. I'm able to add rent comps. I can see that these rent comps nearby, this is an 8-story building, class BC, with an average rent of $22 per square foot per year. And I'm going to add just a couple of these rent comparables. And You're able to upload rent rolls. As long as you have it in Excel format, you can upload the rent roll, and it's going to do the analysis for you once you upload the rent roll. You'll be able to populate the revenues. So right here, you can see the revenues are actually already populated. Because I didn't upload a rent roll, it used the average of the rent comparables, which is $21 per square foot per year, to come up with my potential gross income. And from there, I'm going to consider the vacancy and collection loss. So let's say I consider a vacancy loss of 15%, collection loss of 1%. And expenses, you'll be able to input the subject's historical expenses from their profit and loss statements. Just key in the values here. It's going to tell you what that equates to on a price per square foot per year. And you're going to be able to better analyze what the stabilized expenses are for your projections. So I'm just going to key in a few values here for the purposes of this demonstration. And I'll show you how quickly you're able to generate a income approach for the property. Capitalization rates, you can select capitalization rate directly from, let's say, RERC or PwC, some publication on cap rates in the market, and concludes your overall cap rate, say 8.5 for this office building, and be able to form your conclusion very, very quickly from that. And once you do that, you can reconcile at a value. Let's say we're at $6 million now. Oops. Euros. And I'm going to save it and download another broker opinion of value. And we're just going to skip straight to the income approach. And while that's downloading, I'll talk a little bit about the importance of uploading a rent roll and financials to your CARS file. What that's going to do, again, we talked about crowdsourcing data. This is going to build value to the eXp company as a whole. To give you an example, if CBRE or Marcus & Millichap or any of the large commercial brokerage firms had properly databased and aggregated all of the data from their transactions over the last 20 years, they would be worth more than CoStar, which is a $40 billion company. And that's what we want to get. That's the level we want to get eXp to. We don't want to lose out on all of our transactional data that we're getting from our clients and just let those data points go to waste. We're going to upload our rent rolls. We're going to upload our revenues and expenses for the subject's operating statements, and be able to build our own internal database that's eventually going to be more powerful than CoStar or some of the other data providers.
And now through our platform, which every single commercial agent and broker has access to through your technology fee, and every realty agent and broker has the option to opt into this platform, you can share this exact analysis with each other. So now when we're no longer passing each other data rooms where the analysis starts from scratch. We're simply, if you can return to the other screen, Ryan, we're sharing the file with our peers, and we're able to adjust our analysis and come back with proposals for acquisition. And once that's done, we can now share that same analysis to the lender. We can now share that same analysis to the appraiser. And now what used to take 4 to 6 weeks to have a turnaround on an appraisal, that's going to be reduced because all the information is there. We're not starting from scratch. So this property, now that all the rent rolls, the revenues and expenses have been uploaded, now it's time for that appraiser to determine if those comps are correct, if that cap rate is correct, do their full detailed analysis, which their license is hanging on. And what used to take 20 to 25 hours of professional time to write this same appraisal can now be written between 45 minutes to 3 hours.
And the value that's going to provide for both you and your client is faster closing times, you're going to get a less likely chance that the appraisal doesn't meet the contract price, because the appraiser has all the data points. And based on those data points, you've already done your analysis. The lender has already done their preliminary analysis, or else they wouldn't have even ordered the appraisal. And so now the appraisers gets this CARS file shared with them. They see the comparables that are selected. Maybe they don't agree with all of the adjustments and they want to tweak a couple things here and there, but ultimately they've got all the information that they need to decide whether or not the value of that contract price is reasonable.
So Ryan, we're down to 2 minutes left. So if we can join us back on the middle screen, I'd like to go through some follow through as to what to expect next. I see a lot of comments out there specifically about how this works for realty folks. So this is available to you. Renee, if you can put the link there, eXp Data Valuation is the current site. We're currently working with eXp to put us on the official eXp sites. There's an opt-in link there for you. You have full access to both platforms at $60 a month if you're on the realty side. Please visit us at our workplace. This is where we're going to be posting these videos, announcements, enhancements, all the information that you require to know about our platform. You can come visit us in the eXp world. We are in the eXp partners. As you can see, this partnership is very special to eXp in the sense that we are the only partner out there that has a direct link within the eXp partners section. And next course is going to be next week. Session 2 will be a deep dive into the use of CARS. So the last 15 minutes of our session where we went through a quick CARS analysis, our goal during that session is to work with you to write 3 or 4 BPOs from scratch, work on a little bit more complicated one that has multiple parcels, work on different types of properties so you can understand what the value of this platform brings to you. And thank you very much for joining us. We're very excited about this. And thank you very much for joining our very first university session. And we hope to continue doing this as long as eXp demands it.